Okay, so right now we are below table number 1 and table number 2. We're starting to answer these questions. We answered question number 1 is 23%. That's the protein that we need in our starter ration. For question number 2, how much of the diet will contribute to the protein requirement? What do we put here, folks? If 9% of our ration is vitamins and minerals, what percent of our ration contributes protein? 91. 91%. And if you do the math, that's our corn and soybean meal. So that's the number that we have to go on. We got to figure out how much corn to add and how much soybean meal to add in order to get to 23% protein. We need a 23% protein diet to start these chicks out at. That's what we're trying to get to. So what percentage of the protein must be found in the protein containing ingredients? Keep in mind for number 3, you're actually going to answer that question on the next page. So the question is on this page. You got to turn it over to actually write your answer. So what percentage of protein must be found in the protein containing ingredients? Since only corn and soybean meal contribute protein, we must determine how much of these two things are in the ration. So how do we do that? So the protein requirement is what? Is what? 23. Very nice. And the amount of space allowed for protein containing ingredients. Space allowed is what? 91. Thank you. So when we actually divide those two, we get a bigger number. Because if you think about it, we've got to get to 23% protein, but almost 10% of one of the ingredients doesn't have any protein at all. So we need to get more of this number. So that number is 25.27, if I remember correctly. 25.27. Correct, but that's listed as a percentage. So you would move that decimal place twice. It's a good point. If it comes up on your calculator, it's going to come up as 0.2527. You got to move that decimal place a couple times. Again, not a math teacher, doing the best I can here. So we've got to figure out how to get 25% protein from these two ingredients. How many people are completely lost and have no idea how we got this number? Okay, that's better than I thought. Now, so this number has to be, we're trying to get to 23% protein. It's got to be a little higher because we've got that vitamin and mineral mix, which takes up part of our ration. That's where this 25.27 comes from. Okay, Pearson squares. Here we go. You've got one drawn on your sheet. What we're going to do is we're going to take that 25. We've got to find this number. We got to figure out how much corn and soybean meal to put in our ration to get to 25.27. So we're writing that number in here. Goes right in the middle. Okay, up here, we're going to write our higher percent protein ingredient. This is soybean meal. I want you to literally write this up here. And I should have asked you first. What percent protein is soybean meal? Sorry? 49%. Soybean meal is 49% protein. Lots and lots of protein. Down here, we have corn. Corn goes down here. Literally want you to write that right next to your Pearson square. That's how you do this. What percent protein is corn?
9%.
9%. Thank you. All right, here's where we get a little tricky. This is kind of like trigonometry, where somebody who was really smart a long time ago came up with these formulas, and we're just going with it. We need to find the difference between these two numbers, and we're going to write it up there. Going back to third grade math, how do we find the difference? What property of math do we use to find the difference between two numbers? Boom, subtraction. Nailed it. The difference between 25.27 and 9 is 16.27. We're going to keep this at the top. So soybean meal, if it's at the top over here, it continues over here. So we're going to say parts soybean meal. 16.27 parts of soybean meal. Now we need to do the same thing in the bottom corner. And we need to find the difference, meaning we subtract 25.27 from 49. We're just trying to find the difference between those two numbers. So whichever one's higher, you're going to subtract the lower number from it. So in this case, 49 minus 25.27 is 23.73. .73 parts of corn. Okay, now that we found the difference between the percent protein that we need, which is in the middle here, and the percent protein that is in each one of these ingredients, we need to figure out how many parts are contained here. So we're going to add those two numbers together. Can somebody do that for me? What's 16.27 plus 23.73?
40.
Boom, nailed it. Oh my goodness, it's a nice big round number. That's exciting. What a deal. So there's 40 total parts. Now, if there were, so that means that we put 16.27 parts soybean meal, 23.73 parts corn into our ration, and we're all good to go, right? Unfortunately, there's a third ingredient, right? We're forgetting about the vitamin and mineral mix. So we have to do another piece of math here to figure this out. So what we're going to do is, so we're going to take this 23.73, we're going to divide it by 40. Theoretically, that would give us the percentage of corn we would need in our ration. So what's 23.73 divided by 40? 23.73 divided by 40 equals, sorry, one more time, Damien? 0.59. Give me some numbers. 3.3. So this means that you would have 59% corn, except we need to do one more piece. We have to multiply this. We're going to put our decimal place back where it belongs. We've got to multiply that number by 0.91. Where does that 0.91 come from?
The amount of space. And 91%.
Because only 91% of our ration comes from here. Because we're forgetting about that pesky vitamins and mineral mix that makes up 9% of our ration. So in order to get the percent protein from corn, or the percent of our ration from corn, we got to factor that back in. So what's 0.5933 times 0.91? 0.53 986. And so this is our final number for corn. And I know I've lost some people. I get it. I understand. I told you this was going to be a little bit tricky. I'm going to give everybody a minute to kind of digest that a little bit. We're going to do this again. And we're going to do it for the same thing for soybean meal. We'll go slow. We'll make sure everybody's with us. So we took the percent protein in each one of these ingredients. We found the difference between that and the percent protein that we need in our ration. We got that from 23% times divided by 0.91. So the difference between 9 and 25.7 is 16.27 parts of soybean meal. Same thing with corn. We found the difference to get 23.73. When we add those two numbers together, we get 40 total parts. 40 total parts of ingredients that contain protein. Okay? So now we're trying to figure out how much corn, what the percent of corn and soybean meal we need in our ration. So typically you just say, okay, well, you've got 23 parts of corn out of 40. So you divide those two numbers, you're good to go, right? Except we still have to make room in our ration for vitamins and minerals. So you got to multiply that again by 0.91, which gets you to 53.986% corn in the ration. Let's do the same thing with soybean meal. We're going to take this number, which is 16.27. We're going to divide it by 40. Which is 0.40675. Nope. I forgot my number. 0.40. We're going to do this in a different color. I want to line it up. Okay, so now we got 16.27 divided by 40 equals 0.40675. Then we have to multiply that by 0.91. Which gives us, I apologize for this not being in a great order, 37.014. Okay, so if you add together 53.986 and 37.014, what do we get? Can you add those numbers together? $53 and 37 is 90, plus all those other numbers added together is 91. Which gets you to 91% of your ration. The other 9% are vitamins and minerals. All right, that deep sigh was, I think, a collective one. We're going to do this again with the exact same numbers, and we're going to walk through this step again today. And then tomorrow we'll build on this a little bit and try to have you do some on your own. Questions about this to start? Okay.
There's